Yes, on it. How are we? Welcome along to WD18, the Watford fan channel, with Charlie Zazera, Sam Yuko, myself, Jacob Coleshaw, back again on the going double bubble for everybody watching live today. You don't want to hear me anyway. Thanks so much to everybody who's watching live today. Really, really do appreciate it. If you're listening to it back, make sure to drop us a review. We're going to be talking about the truth about Watford's season so far, which Charlie, for me, feels like quite a big title. Whose idea was that?
I don't know, some genius. Who knows who it could be? Now, I think we're 12 games in now, aren't we? So it feels like quite a good time to reflect. Obviously, we're all really busy. Jacob, you doing some commentary on some Champions League stuff these days, gone onto the biggest stage of European football?
I don't know about that. It was actually, it was the first European game that I'm working at, just in general. And Stephen Berghouse, Sam, was on the bench, and I thought of you playing for Ajax.
He gets more appearances on this channel than Sam these days.
He does. He really does. But I have to say, lads, I don't know if you caught up with it or anybody watched live. I mean, Ajax were absolutely dreadful. Genuinely one of the worst performances I've ever seen in the Champions League. Defensively awful, all over the place. It was at Stamford Bridge on Wednesday. So that was actually on the day of the West Brom game, Sam.
Yeah, lucky you. I'm not sure where I'd rather be. I mean, was João Pedro playing?
He was suspended in midweek, but on Saturday he played and he was terrible, lads.
Was he?
He was really off it.
Wow, bring him home. Maybe he needs a loan. I think.
A little loan bid in Jan.
True. How's your week been, Sam?
Yeah, it's been good, mate. It's been good. It's interesting working in the football scene. How eyes are slowly starting to turn to the World Cup this summer, as I'm sure some people are having in the back of their minds already. But from a Watford point of view, I think it's been a bizarre week, to be honest with you. And we'll get into it. Someone picked up, by the way, on a previous stream. I keep saying, to be honest with you, I don't know why I keep on doing this. I don't know why I keep on. Every time I say it now, I'm just going, for God's sake. But
who's rattled you, Sam? Come on, call them out.
He's rattled me. I would say do a shot every time I say it, but I don't want anyone to end up too far down. But if you do want to end up too far down, head down to the Mad Squirrel on a match day at Vicarage Road, 7-minute walk from the ground. Charlie, we could be there on Saturday, potentially. There's talk.
We could be in there, to be confirmed. But I think I'll... Yeah,
Charlie, how was your holiday? Charlie's been away in Barbados, so he's been off at the last couple, sort of catching up with Watford from afar. I can think of worse places to be watching Watford, Charlie, to be fair. But how was the Holes? How was the little break?
Yeah, it was amazing, to be honest.
Needed?
Yeah, much needed. Kind of slowly getting back into things today, first official day. But yeah, watched 2 Watford games, one of them better than the others, which kind of catapulted one of my days/nights after the West Brom game. Couple of beers in the second half, which was good. And the Coventry game, it was 7:30 kickoff over there in the morning. So I got up at 6:30, put the towels out to get our beds, got myself they do stunning milkshakes over there, from the cafes. I got myself a milkshake. And then, I think by half time on the Coventry game, I think I said to my girlfriend, I want to kill someone after a banquet got sent off, but slowly calmed down because my head was like in that Jamaica hurricane. So, enjoyable, lots to talk about, but good to be back with you guys chatting Watford.
What makes a stunning milkshake, more importantly?
Well, they basically put the ice cream in the blender, but they had all the ice cream you could ever imagine, and depending what time of day it is, you could put a little something in there. So I think on that Saturday I didn't have any alcohol in it, but it was gorgeous, lovely place, Barbados. I'd recommend it.
Are you saying you would put alcohol in it, like an Oreo and vodka milkshake?
Yeah, or if you want a bit of orange in something, you could put a Contral or something like that.
I don't know if I back that, to be honest with you. I feel like they should be separate entities.
Sam's speechless. That's a rare sight. What I will say is, and for any Watford OGs out there who will be watching this or listening to this, does anybody remember Shakeaway in Watford Town Centre? I think it was opposite. It would have been opposite that Nando's at the bottom of town. Obviously, Watford now has 3 Nando's. This is not brought to you in partnership with Nando's. One now next to View Cinema in Garston, which I don't know if you've been to. Pretty decent, what I will say. But Shakeaway, I used to love a Mars bar milkshake. You've had one of them, lads? Ferrero Rocher milkshake?
No, but let's have it right. What's everyone's go-to milkshake if they're going to order it?
Oh, wow. Where do we start? Sam, I'll let you do the honours.
I feel like I'm going to get crucified.
I
like plain vanilla.
Oh, it's not a safe space.
Don't hate it. Don't hate it.
I think it's all right. You can't go wrong. Listen, you don't mix it up too much. I think it's consistent. You get a solid 6, 7 out of 10 every single time. But I feel like occasionally other ones you're either going to get a priming round loser or a 25-26 Musa Sissoko in the middle of the park in a milkshake. So yeah, I think vanilla, you know what you're going to get.
Yeah, Jacob, what are you going for?
Do you know what? I'd probably go Oreo milkshake. Have you lads sort of delved into one of them?
Yeah, decent.
I do. I love it as well when like the bits of Oreo go to the bottom of the cup afterwards.
It's like real like slush at the bottom, and you just feel like so disgusting, but you're just like chucking it down because it's just beautiful. It really, really is good. Charlie, bring us home.
If it was like a Mackey's, I'd probably get banana, which could be controversial.
Kicking off the stream. Oh my word.
Mackey's milkshake is elite, by the way.
Have you ever dipped your chips in the milkshake or the McFlurry?
Get out.
Come on,
get out. Get out.
See,
Sam, you're too comfortable
right.
on this now coming out of that.
It's all right, that. Don't knock it. Don't knock it till you tried it.
Just before we get into the truth about Watford's season so far, let's have your milkshakes in the comment section below. We've had plain vanilla from Hacker. Charlotte says salted caramel with a shot of golden rum, perhaps. Wowee. Go-to ice cream says, Will, that might be one for next week. Edmund says malt milk shake for me. Interesting. Vanilla a popular choice, Sam? Maybe I was wrong.
Yeah, listen.
Minus the chips.
I thought,
by the way, Sam, that is shocking.
I quite like peanut butter, to be fair. Maybe not in a milkshake, but peanut butter fan.
Wow, Robbie, this is incredible. What a revelation. And Watford fans love Lucky Fries and McFlurry. Sam is right. Mark says pineapple from Little Chef. Back in the day, Little Chef.
Pineapple milkshake?
But that's not a milkshake, that's a smoothie.
Oh, we'll have a look. Does it have vanilla ice cream in it?
Of course we'll have a look. Do you guys know what a Little Chef is?
I do. Just on those motorway services, back in the day. Sam?
No.
You don't know,
my time, Little Chef.
Wow, goodness me.
You're a year older than me, Jacob, or 2 years older.
Right, enough of this. Let's get into Watford. Thanks so much to everyone who's watching live. We are going to be donating to Hearts Mind this month. How many goals was it this month, lads?
So in total, across September and October, because I think in September, because of the international break and whatever, Watford only scored 1 or 2 goals. So we thought we'd combine the 2 months to make it a bit more of a substantial amount. So I think it was £9 across September and October. And we'll make our donation hopefully in the next couple of days and leave something on our socials to get involved as well. £1 for every goal that Watford score this season.
Beautiful stuff. Beautiful stuff. All the links are in the description below. Make sure to follow us at WD18fans so you don't miss any of our content. Apologies, been a little bit quiet over the past week or so. We basically got to the point, didn't we, lads, where Watford play West Brom, great result. And then we thought we'd leave it till after Coventry. And then we kind of thought, let's wait till Charlie's back from holiday. So that was sort of the process of how we sort of ended up just doing this video on a random Tuesday night. And there's a lot of you watching today, which we really, really do appreciate. But let's take it right back to last Wednesday, which is almost a week ago, Sam. You were there for Watford 2, West Brom 1. And what I'll do to start with is go through the lineup of Javi's homecoming, because there was a lot of talk after Sheffield United, Sam, about the lineup that Javi went with. And he got a lot of criticism as well, whether he went a little bit too safe, a little bit too conservative. But I have to say, from my perspective, lads, I was really happy with this lineup. It was Selvik in goal, Ngakia, Pollock, Abankwah and Bowler, Petris, Kiprianu, Loser as captain, Vata, Kurumgor and Iran Kunda, Sam. Any complaints?
Yeah, I mean, thinking back a week ago now, and obviously with Watford, so much changes. It was definitely a big change and a really needed change as well after what we saw the other day. I think it was an element of it was Pezzolano-esque, trying to guess the formation beforehand. We were thinking, was it a 3 at the back, a 5 at the back, a 4 at the back, then how many in midfield? And in the end, again, I'm trying to think back to what it actually was, because I think it was closer to a 4-4-2 at times, particularly with Petri in front of Jeremy and Gakia. Boller at left back, who was absolutely brilliant last week, with Rocco Vata and Aaron Kunda, who I thought were quite flexible in changing positions. They were quite fluid at times, I thought, with Luka Kirimgor up top as well. But it wasn't really until the second half that things really came to life. And I think that the big takeaway, at least from this team that I saw across the entire 90 minutes, was 2 up front is the way forward for me now.
And those two specifically, Sam, in Aaron Kunda and Krumgor?
I think we'll have to come on to the second half and the Coventry game, but I think Doumbia has, well, if he wasn't knocking on the door already, because he wasn't really having a look in under Paolo Pezzolano, he is absolutely banging on that starting door now. And obviously he earned the start after a really impressive second half against West Brom. But for me, he's shown, I really like Kieran Gore. I think Semedo, I think he offers something, probably not good enough to start yet, but I think Doumbia just has his all-round game is a lot better than what Kieran Gore and Semedo offer at the moment.
Because Doumbia was kind of frozen out a little bit, wasn't he, under Pezzano, Charlie? And it was good to see him come off the bench at Coventry. I mean, if we're going to play 2 up front, Sam makes a good point there. In surely you've got to play out and out recognised strikers in that respect.
Yeah, he started against Coventry, but that's right. I've always said that I think every time Dumbia's played for Watford, more often than not, he's had a good game and he's impressed. And for a player of his age and leading a line, which he's done for the majority of his time at Watford, he shows he's got so much promise and he always delivers, really. Kieran Gore, I think we all have high hopes for. I think his confidence has been knocked massively, but I can't really disagree too much. I know we're going to talk about games individually with Sam. I would not mind seeing a 4-4-2 with Doumbia and Kurumgor. And I think we've seen Javi's intentions now with the 3 games. After we talked about Coventry, I'll get up the average kind of positions of each because they're all a bit different of his lineups. And I think, especially with Semedo off the bench, who again came on, made an impact, won a penalty against Coventry, but he has done well, I think, when he's played better than I thought he would. I think we've got 3 decent options now. And I think the most pleasing thing that for me since Javi has come in is finally we've got a bit of an identity. And I don't know if we're just kind of harking back and the average positions do kind of change that a bit, but I definitely see we're seeing a 4-4-2, narrow midfield, 2 strikers more often or not. I think that's been changed with kind of the introduction of Barr and Vata's position. I thought Vata was excellent against West Brom, got the winning goal, but I've been just so impressed. I know I've tweeted as much as how good he's been out of possession, especially that West Brom game where he was really kind of supporting Boller at left back, really disciplined, really structured. His pressing was good. And that side of the game, I think, has been really impressive how much of a leap forward he's taken there. We could talk about Rocco's in possession performance against Coventry, which had me pulling my proverbial hair out. But he, I thought West Brom playing on that left wing out of possession really, really strong. And then obviously having an attacking threat. And I tweeted, I was like, could he be that kind of Roberto Pereira, having the discipline out of possession, but that technical ability to make a difference in the final third? So, it'd be interesting 4-4-2. Sam, just obviously you were the only one there, but I was interested to know what it was like for Javi's homecoming at the West Brom game. I think the game in itself, and if you look at the stats, we deserved the win, especially in that second half. What was it like? Did Javi's return lift the atmosphere at all?
Short answer is no, to be honest with you. I think Javi would have loved his very first game to be at home. I think people were a bit let down's the wrong term, because I think Javi very much used that first game away at Sheffield United potentially to evaluate his options a bit more and look at what he's got to work with. But I feel like people were generally just a bit more downbeat after what we saw against Sheffield United, the bottom team in the league, who again lost on Friday night, having been 2-0 up, lost to Preston. Obviously that happened after the game, but yeah, Jebbo. sake.
I'd have to say, I've got a lot of time for that celebration, and also the fact that you could tell he really meant a lot to him scoring that goal. And I will just throw it out there. When do we play Preston? I'm slightly concerned.
Yeah, he's going to get to do it all over again, won't he, in a few weeks' time?
25th of November. That is is that Tuesday night?
Tuesday night game, yeah.
Tuesday night at home. So that'll be the Daniel Jefferson homecoming. But for Javi, Sam, didn't really like the place.
Yeah, I didn't really feel it. It was a bit flat, to be honest with you, in that first few minutes, in that first half. And then who scored for them? Was it Price? I think it was. He scored a lovely finish after some really poor playing out from the back, or an attempt at playing out from the back. Might have been Ngakia who gave the ball away. And then West Brom were able to latch onto it. A lovely finish, though. But then after we went 1-0 down, I did think we responded really, really well. Imran Louza, again, was absolutely phenomenal last Wednesday night. Superb. I think everyone else, just looking at the football landscape and talking to people and listening to other Championship podcasts, everyone's sort of waking up to the fact now that he is probably one of the best midfielders, if not best players in the division. And he showed that against West Brom. And I did think, based on the second half, West Brom dropped off massively, and their fans were absolutely fuming, by the way. I don't know if you saw, but after they went 1-0 up, their intensity levels, their performance levels dropped off completely, and they weren't happy with Ryan Mason for that, or their substitutions, I don't think. But yeah, I think we completely deserved to win it, and our second half was arguably our strongest half of the season so far, you could argue.
I think I said to you boys, didn't I, on one of our last streams, that I did really believe that West Brom was a winnable game. I saw them against Millwall. I wasn't particularly impressed. I felt that they were a team that you could get at. Didn't create a lot from open play in that game, and they didn't create that much, really, as you say, Sam. The first goal was really avoidable from a Watford point of view. I mean, Loser's strike, Charlie, comes at a time where the game's just in the balance there, because Price scores on 34, and the fact we reply so quickly and in the manner we did, firstly, it's brilliant technique from Loser. I mean, every single week he's growing into he is our most important player by quite a margin. I think if he comes out the team, it's a completely different Watford team, to be honest. You almost build the whole team around him. He gets man of the match again. But the timing at which we scored there, and then in the second half, it felt like the first half, it wasn't really clicking. Second half, it changed. What did you think did change in the second half, where Watford were the better team?
Okay, yeah, I think the big thing was the intent. I was at Sheffield United, and that was just absolute hellish. It's terrible. But even in the first half with Watford, I know we weren't as good, but we still had 8 shots to West Brom's 3. And in the second half, we went on to have 10 shots. And we'll get onto our season stats, but statistically, especially chance creation, we're doing really well. But yeah, it's just the intensity. Tom Ince should have scored a couple. I thought he had a couple of good opportunities and soft efforts. So yeah, I think that West Brom second half, and again, I don't know how much it's kind of planned to be slower at the start and getting more intense, but yeah, I feel like we wanted it more. God, it feels like a long time ago, so I'm struggling to remember a bit, but just felt like it just felt really enjoyable. I think that was my fault, because it just felt like we went for it and we kind of rolled them over, really, and we should have won by 3 or 4 to make it 3-1 or 4-1, I thought. But yeah, a good win against a teams that we should be beating, really. Well, I think West Brom have got a decent squad, but performance-wise, we were good. And then, yeah, I don't know, have you got any more thoughts on that game before we move on, Coventry? Because I feel like there's a lot to unpack in the Cov game.
The only thing I wanted to bring up, lads, just on Wednesday night, firstly, great for Vata to score the winner. Watford's come from behind as well, because we don't see that enough, really. I think that's a big mental hurdle to get over. But actually, Sam, what was interesting was Vata spoke to 3 counties after the game, and he revealed how a squad heart-to-heart set the scene for the win over West Brom on Wednesday night, as Watford came from 2-1 behind in Javi's first game in charge. He said, "We had a talk during the week about being more of a team. We had a serious chat, all sat down. We felt like everyone individually is great, but we can do better as a team, and we showed that. We ran for each other, worked hard, and the goals came."
Yeah, I feel like this is becoming a common occurrence pretty much every season. The team sitting down and having heart-to-heart. So yeah, I feel like we should be seeing it a bit more from starts and not falling behind so often. I'm not sure if it changed over the weekend, but at least after that game, we were picked up the most points from losing positions in the Championship. I think we'd fallen behind something like 5 or 6 times, which is both a good thing and a bad thing, because I think it shows that this team doesn't give up and the mentality is really, really good. But at the same time, we're starting games so slowly. I'd be keen to break down the minutes that we're conceding goals in, because to me, there's a real concentration issue within this team. It tends to be either in those first 10 minutes or late on in games like we saw on the opening day against Charlton. So there's a real concentration issue, I feel, with this team, but credit for the ability to come back into the games. And there's not that panic anymore when Watford do go 1-0 down, because I think people know that potentially at times it is a bit of a wake-up call for us. But another player I wanted to shout out, sorry, Charlie, I thought Mark Boller had an absolutely brilliant game on Wednesday night. A burst of pace that I had no idea. I think, Charlie, you might have put it on our group chat, actually. Had no idea he had that pace in him, and really good work for him in helping set up Rocco's winner.
Yeah,
I think sorry, Matt. I just think it's worth noting that Doumbia came on at half-time for Irukunda against West Brom, so potentially having those two big lads up top. And I also wanted to shout out Matty Pollock, who I thought in the second half, especially against West Brom, was pretty strong and dealt with whatever West Brom had to throw at us, which wasn't massive, but he dealt with it pretty well.
Yeah, bang on. Agree with you, lads, on that one. Really good work from Bowler for the goal to beat his man, cut it back. Good finish by Vata as well. And actually a big win for Watford. We really needed that. Actually, I think in the context of sort of Sheffield United, the way it sort of panned out, Javi's first home game, coming from behind. I feel, again, that to do that under Javi just felt like, as I said before, a mental hurdle to get over, because had we have lost on Wednesday, you then, now knowing what happened at Coventry, you're looking at 3 defeats in a row, whereas actually that probably doesn't tell the whole story of how Watford have played over the last couple of games anyway. So a big win against West Brom. And then we went into Coventry on Saturday, Sam, and you were in the away end. I was watching where was I watching? I was watching it from Chelsea in the press box on Sky. Charlie was watching it in Barbados. So we were all over the place. I'm sure we'll have all different views of how we saw this one. But I was having to really sort of bite my tongue, Sam, because I was watching this going, oh my God, how Watford at halftime, 3-0 down to 10 men, have an XG of 1.7, and we hadn't scored. It was honestly baffling, and probably one of the worst games to not be at the game, because at least at the game you can scream, you can shout, you can say what you need to say, get out your system. I was honestly sat there going, oh my goodness, how is this happening? So from your perspective, Sam, sum up, if you can, Saturday, because I think every Watford fan was scratching their head to how on earth we haven't come away with something from the game.
Yeah, but I struggle to think of a more bizarre half of football I have ever watched. And this football club is nuts. We know how much goes on here and how ridiculous everything is. But that first half of football was one of the strangest things I've ever watched. I had friends at home who aren't Watford fans watching it going, how on earth are you 3-0 down and down to 10 men? The first couple of minutes, we can't hide away from it. Unfortunately, we should have gone 1-0 up with Rocco going for on goal. And straight away, Coventry get the ball, go past the halfway line. As soon as they crossed the halfway line, I think the entire way and just looked at each other after having a golden chance to go 1-0 up and just went, here we go. We go 1-0 down. Okay, early. We're fine. We go behind in games. It's going to be difficult. We're at the top of the league. Then their second goal would have been, 7 or 8 minutes in, a little bit later. Now we're thinking, okay, it's going to be a long afternoon. And then between about minute 10 and minute 35 to 40, between both boxes, without doubt, was the best that we have played all season. We were absolutely brilliant in that middle half an hour or so in that first half. We were creating chances. The goalkeeper for Coventry was on another level. I've never been to a game like it since potentially the Premier League days where nothing was going in for us. And I had no idea how Watford had not scored. Chance after chance. Vata could have had 2 or 3 goals. Loser had a shot tipped past the post. I think Kayembe had a shot which was really well saved by the goalkeeper. We were getting set pieces. But Yeah, we go in at half time, 3-0 down to 10 men. It could have been 4-0 if I think it was either a Banquet gets sent off or we go down at 4-0. So one of the most ridiculous halves of football. I don't know how he went in at 3-0 down, but that's football at a high level, unfortunately. We got punished. We weren't good enough in both boxes, and that's what you get when you go to top of the league.
Can I just say, Charlotte makes a great point, Charlie. It could have actually been Charlie's favourite 3-3 scoreline, like it was against Coventry a few years back. Charlie, I mean, I think when you look at that first half particularly, it is as simple as Watford's were second best in both boxes. As Sam says, finishing poor, defending shocking. I mean, it was one of the most frustrating 45 minutes I think I've ever seen. Just on the Vata chance to start with, it's a brilliant run. He's timed his run to perfection. And if you actually watch it back, and that was in the second minute, I want to say third minute, it's his touch that lets him down, because we all know Vata wants to take it on his right foot, and he sort of brings it away from him so that his body has to go around the ball, and then he opts to sort of like chip it, which was weird. And then ironically, his second chance, he should have lifted it. He almost got the two finishes the wrong way round in the first half. Rushworth, I mean, there's a reason why he got player of the match. Did you think he was that good though, Charlie? Because a lot of people were sort of bigging him up and saying, I think Sam, even you said it'll be one of the best goalkeeper performances we'll see this season. But I almost felt like, bar maybe the loser save where he's had to tip down to his left, a lot of them were kind of like, not routines, but you'd expect him to save them, right?
Yeah, I agree with you. If you look at the stats, like, because he saved so many shots on target, it looks like he was better than he was. But I even remember didn't he have a dodgy bit of distribution, which kind of led to a Watford chance. After this, I do think we should look at the negatives, because the defending in the first half was abysmal. But I was just looking at, for anyone watching on YouTube, I was just looking at the shot map. Those chances I can't even remember. Vata on 3rd minute. Let me go. Sorry. Vata on 3rd minute. Dumbia on 9 minute. Lose a great shot saved by Rushmore. Vata 35. Kayembe had that screamer, didn't he, saved by the goalkeeper. That was a good save, to be fair. Vata on 36. Vata on 41. Like, the chances just did not stop coming. And I think that's why, for me, it was just the most frustrating game to see us create that chances, not take any of them, and to be 3-0 down and then to be 10 men. I think a huge caveat must be game state, and we were 2-0 down by, 7 minutes. So the Cov players obviously took their foot off the gas, but still, Rocco Vata had a higher XG than Coventry combined. Like, it was criminal that we only scored one, and that was from a penalty. And to be fair to Watford, I think the second half was what really calmed me down, because we could have folded, but we actually had a higher XG with 10 men, even without the penalty. So it showed that we had a good shape, good spirit to stay in the game. We know that Coventry didn't play well, but there was a few chances that we had. I know Semedo had a chance, and like one more goal, and we could have got right back in it. So to do that with 10 men, especially with kind of how poor chances we gave away and how the confidence could have dropped, I thought that's what really calmed me down, because I was absolutely fuming, especially after the red card. So yeah, a tough lesson, a frustrating one as Watford fans, because you think you create that many chances. I think that the Coventry game was our best for chance creation, or 3rd or 4th best of the season. So really, really frustrating. And I think we've got to talk about the defending, because like, just so poor. The first one, like Sam said, I don't know how much credit we're going to give, but the fact that the defender gets in the middle of Caben and a Banquet, I don't think is great. Even I've praised Ngakia a lot on Wednesday night. I thought he was great, but I didn't think he had a good game, really. I think it was on Boller's side for their goal to get the cross in. And that second goal just infuriated me. Like, another set piece goal, long ball, not getting the first contact. And I think I said to you guys, I think the biggest winner of that half was Matty Pollock, because I think I watched Matty Pollock against Sheffield United, and it was so infuriating because they just let him have the ball, and obviously he just isn't as gifted with the ball at his feet as others we've got in the squad. But I think a game like that with Coventry, they've they've obviously followed the whole Premier League and the Arteta blueprint of direct getting balls in the box. And I just thought our box defending was poor. I feel like doing that Frank Lampard meme when he's just driving all the goals. First goal, rubbish. What was the third goal? I can't even remember.
Third goal was Sakamoto.
Egil Selvik, I thought, should have done better with that.
I feel like Sam Yuko is bashing Selvik at every opportunity, but he should do better, shouldn't he?
He should do. I agree, Sam.
Yeah, I'm so torn on Selvik.
He's a weird goalkeeper, isn't he? Because he's quite a calming presence, but he's not. He's a calming presence, and he does the basics well. But weird, actually. Batman's a better shot stopper, but Selvik's probably a better overall keeper.
Yeah, that chance was 0.09 from Sakamoto, and pretty. He should be saving that, shouldn't he?
Yeah, there's no doubt to me that, without doubt, he's an upgrade on Daniel Bachmann. Like, he is a very, very, very good goalkeeper, Egil Selvik, and I think he's a standard Championship goalkeeper. We'll see at times he'll make mistakes. I do think, though, I've referenced this before from the Rickery end. I've mentioned this a few weeks ago as well on their podcast. He had a really strong start to his Watford career. Those first 5, 10, 15 games were absolutely brilliant. And then he made a mistake at Fratton Park last season when we lost 1-0 or 2-0 to Portsmouth. And ever since then, I think we're seeing mistakes creeping into his game and a little bit of confidence in there as well. He's losing a little bit of confidence, I think. I still think he's a fantastic goalkeeper. I wouldn't drop him at all. But yeah, 17 games without a clean sheet, as well as someone says in the comments here, is something that's got to be addressed. It's really, really poor.
Yeah, and I actually think this is not directed at Selvik, particularly that stat. 17 games without a clean sheet.
Of course.
Most I think in all the leagues. The bigger problem for me, lad, is when I know we talk about the lineup a lot, but ultimately that does have a big bearing on the game. And ultimately all 3 goals came with this lineup on the pitch. I have to say, this is where I don't have any sympathy for Javi with his selection. The lack of protection for that back 4 was really concerning straight away for me, right? I think the second half shows when Kyprianou comes on, he gave that back 4 protection and allowed Loser not have to worry about that job as much. Whereas Loser was sort of having to sweep up everything with Sissoko, Kiembe, obviously Doumbia, Vata and Barra, attacking-minded players. But Loser's pretty much holding that midfield together on his own in that first half. In the second half, when Kyprianou came on, it meant that you get the best out of Loser, and it's no surprises that Loser then starts to get onto the ball a little bit more. He starts to influence the game a lot more. That's where I really struggle with that from Javi, and I think we have to be balanced with that, because whilst he got it right on Wednesday, that, I don't want to say cost us, but Sam, it does feel like if we play the right lineup from the start, and okay, there's a lot of if, buts and maybes in this game. Vata scores that chance to start if we play this lineup. But it does feel like when we see how the game pans out, that game was there for us to at least get a point.
Yeah, 100%. Coventry surprised me actually with how poor they were defensively. So open, and it felt like every time Watford went forward that we were at least going to get a shot off and create a really good opportunity, which we did. We just didn't put them away, unfortunately. It's the elephant in the room. I think we have to talk about Moussa Sissoko and Edo Kayembe starting that game away at Coventry. I understand Javi wanting to rotate the team, and we've, for once, actually, in a lot of the positions, we're quite strong in depth, at least compared to what we've been in previous years, particularly at centre-back. I saw somewhere saying that we've had something like 8 or 9 different partnerships at the back so far this season, and we do need to settle on one. But it's that midfield area. Sissoko, again, was poor, I thought.
Why is he playing?
Your guess is as good as mine, yeah.
I can't really wrap my head around it, because and what I mean by that is, again, nothing directed towards those 2 players. But if you're playing a 4-2-2-2, which that Javi's trying to play, this 4-4-2, this fluid 4-4-2, you've got to have really sort of well-organised, well-structured setup. And it just felt like it was all over the place in that first half. And don't get me wrong, Coventry weren't the Coventry we've seen at the start of this season, and they had an off day. We caught Coventry on an off day and we weren't able to capitalise on it. But I think if you're going to play that, you've got to have Kyprianou in the team. I think it's almost a non-negotiable, Charlie.
Yeah, absolutely. And I was frustrated. Yeah, Sissoko, even for the third goal, he misjudged the header, didn't he? and he kind of had us on the back foot. He did have a good recovery run in the game, but I was looking at stats on the Coventry game, and especially for Quadro Bar, which we'll kind of get onto in a bit. But the stat was passes received, because in my mind, Bar wasn't getting the ball enough. I don't know if you think differently, but bottom of the pile for passes received was Musa Sissoko, and he's a centre midfielder. The centre midfielders and the centre backs really should have the most passes. I don't get it. I get rotations. Kayembe was also kind of centre midfield against Coventry, and it's just the out possession stuff. It's just slow, poor turning on the ball, poor use of the ball. And look, that's a 3-game week. Have we got a 3-game week coming up next week with Borough Ipswich? Yeah. So look, he's obviously leading the dressing room. He's obviously well liked, but I think Cipriano, he had such a strong start to the season. We all said he's probably our player of the season so far, even through the bad times. We were so impressed how good he was defensively, getting around the pitch. And I just think him and Loser, I think recently his confidence been knocked from coming out the team. He is only still 23, but I think he's got to be playing alongside Loser. And I think that's actually a good bit of balance, especially for that shape that Javi wants to play in. Yeah, I think now when we're playing with, especially Sissoko, again, we don't like singling players out, blah, 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 but he's so far off the level now, it's like noticeable, and we're struggling. So I think now we've got to either play without him or like a different alternative, because I think there's a role for him in the squad when he comes on, seeing a game out, maybe playing him on the right if we want a bit more defensive cover, although I think Ngaki 1v1 keeps looking impressive. But yeah, for me, he's got to come out of the team now.
A couple of comments to get into. A 3-game week, as Charlie says. We've got Middlesbrough at home, which we'll get into in just a second. Ipswich away in midweek, and then Bristol City at home before the international break. Bristol City being on that Friday night under the lights on Sky Sports as well. Let's have a little look at your comments before we sort of finish on the Coventry game. Will says, I can't wait for Chatford Datsy to be fit. It does feel like he's been out for a long, long time. Tim says, categorically, we cannot see Sissoko and Kayembe start again. That has to be it now. There was one from Mark says, do we try Mendy in defence now as a banker is out foremost Mendy? Whichever two start will be yet another combo, so might as well start with him, is another one. A lot of shouts for Hector, Cipriano and Mendy to play and then let Loser float in front. Lee says, Javi has to be brave in his decision-making to leave these two out week after week and not rotate. Robbie says, Ipswich are there for the taking, have been poor. Sam, we go into half-time, 3-0 down. Red cards, we haven't even touched on the red card, have we? James Abankwah. I mean, I don't think he can have any complaints, can he? I mean, ironically, had it been in the box, he wouldn't have been sent off.
Yeah, it's definitely a red card.
Yeah, because of the double jeopardy.
Yeah,
because he's gone for the ball, hasn't he? He's not gone to take the lad out. And I think, correct me, someone in the comments can correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure had that have been in the area, it just would have been a penalty and a yellow. But because it was outside, he was last man. That's my FA training coming.
Thank you, Mr. PGMOL, for that interesting insight. I think Charlie mentioned this earlier in terms of game state. It's very difficult to read into that second half. It was very clear to me, and I think in the stadium as well, even Coventry fans took their foot off the gas a bit. It was game over. We were never really going to get back into it. I think there were a couple of nerves from their fans when we did get one back, and then I think we had the ball in the box a couple of times. Semedo had a chance, which went straight to Rushworth in goal. But yeah, very, very difficult to read into that second half. But some promising stuff. I thought we mentioned his name now. I think Cipriano has had a bit of a not a drop off. That's the wrong way of saying it. But he hasn't been as good in these last couple of games than he was in that first bit of the season. But yeah, I think he looked back to his best in that second half against Coventry.
The frustration for me is if we played Hector from the start, would that have made a bit of a difference? It was the amount of times. Even I think it was it Michael Van? Yeah, it was him who had that amazing run. I think it was him. Yeah, it was him who had that amazing run over the top. And if that had gone in, that probably would have been one of the goals of the season, to be honest. But the amount of times that happens, Charlie, where not that specifically, but the transition where Watford have gone up the other end, and that first half was like a basketball match, really, where every time you felt Coventry went forward, something was going to happen. And to be fair, Watford, you felt like something was going to happen. But there was zero control in the game. And let's be honest, man for man, Coventry are a better team than us. And they have better finishers and better players in that box than us. But the lack of control in the game was probably my biggest concern, actually, from the first half. A lot of positives in terms of going forward and that sort of, attacking threat. Great. We have missed that. But really, we struggled to get a foothold of the game. And so, I know it's difficult away from home, but maybe, I don't know. Maybe I'm just trying to scratch my head. I'm still scratching my head how we haven't.
Yeah, I think when you want control of the game, you want it from the midfield, don't you? And I think if you look at the stats and look at Kayembe and Sissoko, look, it's a telling story that those two were the first to come off. And then when Coventry have got a player like Matt Grimes, who is, do you know what I mean, the definition of how to control a game in the Championship. So, yeah, but I do think we need to applaud the team in the second half. I also felt really sorry for Doumbia because I thought he should have had 2 assists. I thought his hold-up play, his link-up, his weight of pass and decision-making for the first time was probably all correct. But it was just Rocco who didn't help him out and get the goals. So, it's a frustrating one. Sam, what did you think of Quadro Bar, who obviously got the nod from the start against Cov?
Yeah, a bit of a quiet game for KB. I mean, I'm one of them. I'm calling for him to start. I think he should be starting games. He's an unbelievable asset that we've got, but there's have a tendency to be a little bit quiet when he does start games, and he's not always against those tired legs. Of course, he came off injured. I think it was it looked like his bicep or his shoulder. I think that was iced at full time. So hopefully it's not too serious, and he'll be okay for next week.
He could have got an assist. He could have got an assist as well. Did really well to get to the ball and pull it back to Vata.
Yeah. Did really, really well. And it was a really good block from the Coventry defender from memory as well there. So yeah, not vintage KB, but Charlie, have you got any numbers to show us on that?
So like when I was watching the game, my big thought, and whenever I feel like KB's been at his best for Watford, and especially not last season, it just feels like we would just get the ball to him as much as we could. Let me quickly get this up, and this is looking at his. Hang on now, I'm trying to invite someone to the stream. Who could it be? 2 seconds. So this is kind of the possession stats from the Coventry game, passes received, and then just really disappointed to see KB down here. Obviously, he went off on 63 minutes, but he had the same amount as Irukunda, who came on, same amount as Kayembe, same amount as Selvik, even like Ngakia and Bola getting more. But yeah, I just didn't think. I think that my biggest fear with KB under Javi is I just don't think he suits what Javi wants. And I think when you look at how much Tom Ince has featured, to probably our surprise, you've seen Tom Ince, especially the West Brom, coming off on the left, very much like Will Hughes used to do. I just, for the balance, and I'll get as well this. I'll get our average positions for the last 3 games of under Javi and get what you guys make of it, because they're all slightly different. But I just don't. I think KB could struggle under Javi. So for the people listening, I'll quickly talk through it, and you guys can have a look and give me your thoughts. But Sheffield United, considering we're shooting from down to up, it's just so defensive. Look how deep we are. Like, it just screams defend. Sissoko's next to Ngakia on the left. Look how deep Wiley is, and then there's just a cluster in the middle. West Brom looks a lot better balanced for me. Kurumgar's a lot higher up. Irukunda, interestingly, is very literally as central as you can get. Also interesting, look at Patrice and Ngakia. Ngakia's further forward, so you can show Javi's intent there with Patrice. He wanted to be defensively solid. I think one of the trends you can see with these games is kind of Vata's position being quite central. And Luz has actually been quite high up when you compare him to the other midfielders, which I think a lot of fans to see. And then slightly different again, Coventry, where I do think there is a bit of balance here, but KB's wide on the right. I didn't think he was that effective. Dumby at Vata was very central again with Bowler overlapping. I think that's a partnership which could work pretty well, especially if we have got Dumbia and Irakunda, two forwards that we've seen Bowler can cross the ball. We need to be doing more of that. We're very low on the crosses so far this season, but we do not want this Kayembe and Sissoko that far deep, controlling or being in our midfield. Jacob, what do you make of those three average positions from Javi's first games back?
Yeah, I think also a lot of these are context specific, right? I think it was quite clear at Sheffield United that he would have taken a draw and got out there, and I think that pretty much sums up with the average positions. With
that was poor and Javi though, I thought, don't you?
Yeah, I agree. I think I think it was quite clear with that setup and the positions prove it. That was the game plan. He had to play more on the front for West Brom at home, and maybe actually West Brom taking the lead forced our hand a little bit in that respect as well, that early on in the game at 34, which meant that whether that will affect the positions. But I think the midfield situation, lads, for me is a really interesting one. I think there is a conversation to be had around Irankunda, and I do think there has been a slight drop-off from him since the start of the season. Now, I don't know if we're playing him in his best position. I mean, clearly by the West Brom average position, that's in a sort of number 10, really. And at the minute, we're sort of playing him as a second striker. So I sort of understand the logic with the West Brom game. I actually think it makes a lot of sense. The Coventry game is a really interesting one because it's bizarre, isn't it? I like the idea with Vata cutting inside, Bowler on the overlap, Bar stretching the game. Dumbia always likes to drop a little bit deeper. But you've got to ask yourself, as Charlie, you said there, 10, 39, 17. You only need 10 there. You need 39 in front of a banker on the left-hand side, 17, Musa Sissoko. I'm not sure. They're just getting in each other's way. And I just don't think that balance in midfield. I just would love to understand the logic of that selection, really, lads. And I don't think it's any surprises that those two guys, and I think, again, it feels bad singling them out, but there was a difference in our West Brom performance, particularly in the second half and the way we moved the ball and the tempo and intensity we played at, Sam. I think the Coventry away, it's amazing how many chances we did create. When you look at those average positions, you wonder how, really, with that central midfield, with that central midfield being so cluttered.
Definitely. I think the big word that you said there was intensity, Jacob. It's so difficult to get that intensity when things are so cluttered and close together in the middle of the park. Something else you said just there, I think you nailed it, everything that you said, but it was like they were getting in each other's way. Everyone was getting in each other's way. The pitch wasn't spread out enough. And I think that's potentially a downside of something that we tended to see Javi do in his first spell with Watford, with how narrow the pitch is. Look at Jeremy and Ngakir's position here on all three, how narrow Ngakir is almost at times, stepping into that central role, particularly in that West Brom game. Look at how close Ngakir and Imran Louza are on that heat map there. But yeah, when things do get that cluttered in the middle of the park, it's very difficult to get any sort of rhythm and intensity going. And unfortunately, don't want to single them out again, but when, for example, Musa Sissoko is playing, we just struggle to get any form of intensity going.
Sam, just before we move on and just talk about the season so far for the last 10 minutes or so, what was it like in the away ends for people who weren't there on Saturday?
Yeah, the atmosphere was really good, particularly at the start of the game and before the game in the concourse. It's going to take the stuffing out of you a bit when you go 1-0 down on an away day after 3 or 4 minutes. I thought everyone remained in good spirits, and when you can see a team are attacking and going forwards and being brave, which I think we were all of those. I don't think anything you can never say on Saturday against Coventry that it was down to an effort problem at all, or a lack of bravery or a lack of courage. I think Watford showed all of that. It was just having that bit of composure in the final third, which we didn't quite have. So I think the away end appreciated that, albeit there was a lot of frustration there during the game as well. The fact that we were 3-0 down and the red card as well. So yeah, it was mixed feelings, but the players got clapped off in the end, and I think it was probably deserved by the supporters.
As Ian said, great away support again. Watford fans travelling so well, especially on the early kickoff as well. Would have been an early start for the trip to Coventry. A few of your comments before we touch on the season so far. As soon as Javi figures out the jigsaw, I think will be great. We already look really good, very happy with the squad. A lot of Watford fans said they came out of the Coventry game feeling confident, Sam.
Yeah, I feel like this is a good place to go and where Watford are now, but I think we are so close to getting there. Like genuinely, we are so close to being a really, really good team. We just need that bit of consistency with team selections and, like we've said there, having that right balance between the intensity and not getting too cluttered and plays in each other's ways. I came at that Coventry game. I was really, really frustrated at full time, but after 2 or 3 hours after the game, reflecting on it, watching the highlights, I came out feeling pretty encouraged. So yeah, a season of small progress so far. I feel like it's almost been 1 step forward, 2 steps back at times, but potentially now we're getting into our groove with the last game and a half or so.
Fingers crossed. HJ says, I can see a lot of positives since Javi has come in. Hopefully a full week with all players being there. We can see the benefits on Saturday. Really like this comment from Lee. I'd even be willing to play a banquet in the defensive midfield role with Mendy or Cipriani freeing up Loser. A banquet is great with driving forward. Who did he play against in that role? He has played there before for us. And I remember early when he first came in, he filled in, and we might have gone down to 10 men, but he went into midfield. And someone's going to have to help me in the comment section. It was when he first came in on loan. And I remember we talked about it, lads. We said, you know what? He could do a job for us in defensive midfield. What game was that? If someone can pluck that out for me, would appreciate it. Question for you, Charlie. Will Mama, Othmane Mama, feature soon? I heard Bar is out for 5 weeks. Don't know where that's come from. But on Mama, there's a lot of comments saying he could potentially be playing soon or in the squad.
Just before we talk about Mama and we talk about defenders and holding midfielder, I think Elaine could also be an option as a holding midfielder. And if we've got time, we could quickly maybe do our predicted 11 against Borough. But yeah, I don't want to be a fun sponge, but I do think we should have a beat about Mama. Obviously, he's had a stunning under-20s World Cup. But to throw him into like a championship, the rough and tumble of a championship season when we've got so many threats, we've seen how many times have we seen these youngsters coming with Watford and they've had to take at least a year, even with João Pedro and players like that. I don't think he's a plug and play player for Watford, and I don't know where he fits into Javi's system. If I'm honest, can you see him coming in on the left? I don't think he'd do what he wants on the right. So look. Maybe let's get him in the squad and throw him on. And you never know in football. Sometimes someone can just have a magic moment and the confidence will be flying. Bar being out for 5 weeks, really hope that's not the case. Like, we're desperate for him to get back to his best in a Watford shirt. He hurt his shoulder, didn't he? I think I saw on socials he was filming with the Watford camera, so his shoulder can't be that bad. Hopefully it's that one. But I'm desperate to see Bar do well because I think there's such a good player there, and we'd just be wasting his talent if we don't get the best out of him. Just on the stats so far, I don't know if I'm jumping here then everywhere, but
I go for it.
When you look at the XG, Watford have the 5th best defensive goals or chances conceded, 5th best in the championship, and we've created the 4th best. Now, looking at the eye test, would you have thought that without knowing that? Or how do you Jacob, how do you reflect on what's the truth about this season and Watford? Have we been unlucky? Have we overperformed? What do you reckon?
That is brilliant question. First thing I'll say is I don't think the stats lie. Well, they clearly don't. But I'm surprised by the goals against, if I'm honest. But maybe that's because we've been playing quite a lot with a back three at the start of the season. I know we've moved to a back four recently, but that definitely helps that situation. The 4th best XG suggests we're creating. And it almost does just say to me, if we can, I think someone mentioned it about the jigsaw of this Watford team. If we can nail down this midfield balance, we're so close for it to click and for something to happen. Now, I don't know what that is, and I don't know what the ceiling of this Watford team is, to be honest with you. It's a lot of young players, a lot of players with high potential, a lot of players who will have on and off days. I think Vat is a really good example where his potential is so high, but he will have off days, right? And I thought he played well at Coventry. It was just his finishing that let him down on the day. The point is, and to answer your question, Charlie, I am surprised by the defensive stats. I thought it would actually be lower than that. I'm not surprised by the XG, though. When I actually go through all the games this season, there hasn't been many games where we've created absolutely nothing. Even at Charlton, where we were poor, I can think of a couple of opportunities we got into which we really should have done better with. I then look at some games. Coventry is another great example. We have a 2.7 XG and we've lost the game 3-1. I then look at Portsmouth, Hull, Oxford. Millwall was the one where we really didn't create anything. And even then, Wiley should have scored. We had a deflected effort saved by the goalkeeper. So the point is, even when we played poorly this season, we've created. That really hasn't been the problem. Obviously, it's the final touch and it's the final finishing. But those stats almost suggest to me that it just means we have to find this midfield solution, Sam, and find this balance. Because at the minute, it does feel like that is the missing piece of the jigsaw. And until we do that, we probably won't be much different in terms of results. We'll have one win. I mean, I look at our last 5, lads. Draw, win, loss, win, loss.
Yeah.
That will carry on. It will be hard to sustain a run if we don't find this midfield solution.
Yeah, exactly. And I said
Stop
before...
me saying that with the best midfielder in the league.
I know. Mental, this football club. Yeah. I said before, I think we are really, really close to maybe not being the end products, but being probably the best Watford team as a collective that we've seen maybe since we got relegated 4 or 5 years ago now. I don't think we're that far off that, to be honest. There we go. There's to be honest. I was doing so well on this video as well.
Just before I forget this stat, I mean, I know we were saying about Selvik. He's actually saved. If you look at his goals prevented, 1 goal, and he's 10th for like best save percentage and kind of expected saves in the Championship. So I remember Sheffield United, he made some big saves, didn't he? So I don't think he's done maybe as bad as we think, but I think because he came in and performed so well and was such an upgrade on backman, I think our expectations quite high on him. But sorry.
Yeah, potentially that. Yeah, I don't think he's doing a bad job at all. I think at times this season he's potentially looked a little bit shaky. Yeah, it's that midfield, but I'll say it again. I think it's a really poor Championship this year on the whole. Outside of Coventry, maybe Middlesbrough, which we'll come on to in a second, I don't think any team has looked absolutely unbelievable. Even Middlesbrough in second place, you'd imagine that their form at some point they'll go through a difficult patch. So I don't want to say it won't take a lot, because football's obviously a very, very difficult game and it's not that simple. Otherwise, us 3 would be in the dugout. With Watford at some point, we probably will be. But yeah, we're not that far off. And I think if we do get this right, this midfield issue at the moment, we could see us mount a potential playoff push.
How are you feeling, Charlie?
Underwhelmed, if I'm honest. Gino made another bad hire in Pezzolano. And if you look at Pezzolano, I do think we've seen enough in Javi's game. I think Sheffield United's poor, but West Brom and Coventry, I feel like we have seen quite a lot of positives from those games. I know there's only 2, it's a small sample size and hasn't been perfect, and there's other decisions that I would change. It feels really simple, but it feels like it shouldn't be that hard managing this Watford team because of the depth that we have got. And I just feel like the Pezzolano experiment was just a nightmare because it just never really fixed. So we've wasted that many games and we're building, do you know what I mean? It's taken us 10 games to kind of build a new identity, which is so frustrating really, because we could have had a better head start, especially the teams that we played. So I am underwhelmed. Like if I was to rate the season, I know he tweeted it today, I'd probably rate the season 4 or 5. Like when I was looking at the replies, there was a real mixture, but how would you 2 rate the season so far out of 10?
I was thinking 5, Sam.
Yeah, I was more looking at the 3.5 to 4 mark. Like Charlie said, it's been underwhelming. From what we were sold in the summer to this promotion push to Paolo Pezzolano being a promotion specialist, it still feels like, based on what we've seen in the last 2 games, while it has been progress and it has been positive, what on earth are we doing all summer? It just feels like we completely wasted pre-season. I don't want to get into a rant on the big picture again, but just feels like we wasted 3 months of the season, pre-season, in those first 7 or 8 games that Pezzolano had. So, yeah, for me, it's still been incredibly underwhelming. Anything other than top 6 this season from what we got told this summer.
I think you've made a very good point there, Sam, about not using pre-season correctly there. And I think, look, don't get me wrong, Pezzolano wasn't the right man in terms of the rapport he had with the players. It was obvious, I think. Well, it was obvious because it was clear from the videos. But I think at least what you say about Pezzolano on the pitch was we were heading in a direction. Now, I'm not saying it was great. I'm not saying it was all sunflower, roses, the sun was out, everything's bright. But what I will say is in that last week before we left, when we got 7 points out of 9, at least you could start to see an identity and maybe in some of the patterns of play. And I'm not by any.
Do you think that's accurate though? Did we see that, or are we just playing poor teams?
I think both can be true. I think both can be true. I think we were playing poor teams, but at the same time, you knew what the lineup was going to be. You knew what the formation was going to be. You knew there was sort of relationships building. I'm not saying again it was early stages, right? But I actually think with a manager like Pezzolano and his style, you're never going to see that in the first 8 or 9 games, really, are you? Like, let's be totally honest with you. Totally honest with ourselves. Now, did we have the players to play that style? I'm not too sure. Anyway, that's another conversation. But I think Ben makes a good point. Now Javi's fixing the issues off the pitch, but it looks a little bit ragged at the moment, which I don't think is... I think he's pretty much spot on there. You know, Ben says, is it reactive hiring? Why didn't we just go and get Rollwell? Would Danny Roll want to join Watford, Ben? That's probably a different conversation. I just think that it's a little bit confused at the moment. And I do genuinely believe if we can get that same lineup with the same consistency, and I really don't believe we're far away. Toasted says, look, there was no identity or system. The style was organised and chaotic, preying on confusion. I do agree that it was unorganised and there was chaos to it. But I did feel in that last week we were at least sort of heading somewhere. Now, I don't know what that was. It might have all gone wrong. And Charlie might be right. It was the poor sort of opposition we were playing. I think my point is that there was there was something happening, is what I'm trying to say, maybe. But look, I think Javi has come in and he's, we all know what to expect with Javi. Charlie, do you think it's as simple as changing the midfield and it all click?
Just as you're talking, and again, I'm not ignoring what you're saying. I'm trying to think of what a starting 11 would be against Borough. And I'll quickly show you, and you guys can have your say of what you guys think, or who we think should start against Borough. This is where I'm at the minute. And I'd love to just put Bar in there, but I think realistically, are we ever going to be this attacking? Is Javi ever going to have essentially 4 attackers? He's going to ask Bar and Vata to do a job defensively. I just think that could be unrealistic, and I just don't know who this Will Hughes player is. I think this is a profile we don't have in the squad.
I think it's
on the right.
I think that's your only option. If you wanted to play that Will Hughes role on the right, Loser's the only one who can play that role.
I just think Loser has to be the heartbeat of the team,
and that's the problem we have. I think because everybody, Javi doesn't not saying he doesn't like natural wingers, but he likes his wingers to cut in, and I think Vata suits that role really, really well. I think Karumgor and Dumbia, but this is what I mean, lads. How often have we had a regular starting 2 up front? I mean, Ince might be that man, but I think Loser and Cipriano has to be your midfield too. I actually think that's a really nice balance to that.
Kayembe on the left,
on the right,
on the right.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I mean, my gut is looking at this shape. I did think Tom Ince immediately would be in that Will Hughes role. At the same time, I just can't see a world where at least, against West Brom in midweek, did one of Sissoko or Kayembe start? Or they're both on the bench, I think, actually. I was going to say, I just think on a consistent basis, we'll see at least one of them starting games, which is a shame because I think immediately we lose that balance and that shape.
I think the only thing with the right-hand side is I think Ngakia is that good 1v1. You can have your Bar basically, or your free, your Salah, your Cheetah basically. But I don't think we're good enough yet to have 2 attackers there. So it's a real. Or should we change the shape? I mean, when you look at the Coventry game, it was more of a 4-3-3 with Bar, Vata, and Dumbia. And do we have a midfield of Cipriano, Loser, and a Mendy or a Kayembe or something like that? But I just feel like this shape, Javi knows it, Watford knows it. Looking at that West Brom game, seeing Dumbia and Kurumgard up front with the likes of Bowler and having the quality of Loser on the ball. Some of the passes in West Brom, having Loser in that ball, creating chances, you're going to create so much more. So it's a real conundrum. So I don't know who would be on that right side. How would you guys start against Borough?
My question to you, Charlie, and to you, Jacob, as well. I still think we're at least another 6 weeks to 2 months away from this. But could Georgie play in that role? It's going to be a long time still before he's back. But
I don't think so. I think George either plays on the left driving in, which we saw him at his best, or you hope to play him in that 10. I just think we don't have a profile. Like, obviously, it's hard to get a Will Hughes profile, but you need a left winger who's good defensively, basically.
I think it has to be a 4-3-3, lads, to be honest.
Go on then, Jacob. What would you change of this?
I would go Selvik. This is for Borough.
Yeah.
Okay. Selvik, Ngakia, Pollock. I like the back four, actually. I'd keep the back five. I'd go Cipriano.
No Caben. I know I'm throwing names out, but I think Caben's look a lot shakier in a 2 than a 3.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I'd be tempted to play a lane because we need some sort of line breaking passes, to be honest. And I think Pollock, that isn't Pollock's strength. And Elaine, defensively, Pollock is a great defender at this level. But I think you need a lane to be playing those passes and release, particularly that left-hand side. Then into midfield, I'd go Cipriano. I'd go Loser. I don't know where Mendy is in midfield. I'd be relatively tempted to play him at some point because I do think you need someone just breaking it up and getting those second balls and being a bit of a nuisance in there. I don't think this will happen, but I think that is actually quite a solid midfield when you look at it like that. Mendy's job would literally be to give the ball to Loser. Like, I don't think that needs to be overcomplicated. And it allows Loser to play more freedom going forward. Yeah, I mean, Duomo played in the under-21s the other day. I quite like the idea of Mendy in the midfield. And then if we're playing a 4-3-3, Kurumgor is your number 9. I think that just needs to become a mandatory sort of, if we're playing 1, it's Kurumgor. Like, he can play that role. And then I'd go with, and it'll probably be Kiembe, by the way, in midfield. But I quite like the idea of Mendy. But I'm not totally against Kiembe in the midfield 3 with Cipriano and Loser. I will say that. I think the issue is when it's both, but I think the issue is when it's both him and Sissoko. That's where it becomes more of an issue. I think Cipriano has to play as a sitting, and Loser and Kiembe can play as a 2, but I think Mendy would be better. He was very good against Oxford. And then when I look at the front 3, I go Kurumgor in the middle, either Iran Kundra or Vata on the left-hand side and Bar on the right.
Sorry, I'm just trying to sort these players out. Trying to get little Mendy in the team. He's so small.
I love Dumbia, but I think Kurumgor's better as a lone striker. I think if you're playing 2, you play Dumbia. That's my take. I mean, the fact is, right, you could honestly pick 20 different lineups. And I think, I've seen people in the comments saying their own ones. People are saying you have to start Dumbia. Where's foremost Mendy? Cipriano has to play here. Duomo, where is he? I think the fact is, the wider point here is, lads, and when I sort of take a step back, Sam, is I think this is the classic example of what happens when, and it did work for a long period of time, and I'm not saying it doesn't, it can still work, but when you buy a squad not for a particular style or formation, like clearly we don't know our best formation and we're still working it out and we are how many games into the season. Whereas there's other clubs, take West Brom, for example, who Ryan Mason would have said, I play 4-2-3-1, let's invest or recruit for that system. The fact is, like, we don't know what our best system is.
Yeah, exactly. And it goes back to it again, what on earth were we doing? Just a complete waste of the pre-season as well. That's the time where you work out who fits in where, and obviously during the season there'll be changes, but we still got absolutely no idea what we're doing shape-wise. And
Dumbia is number 9, Sam?
I think Dumbia starts at the moment over Kiramgor for me. I really like Luca. I think he is going to come good. I know he scored 2 against QPR, and he hasn't scored since. But I feel like when he gets 1 goal and he gets that confidence up, we could see the goals start and more goals start going in for him. But at this moment, I think Dumbia has earned a start. In football, if you're on the bench, all you can ask for is a player when they come on to give 110% and show those intangibles to try and earn a start. And I think he's done that at the moment.
I know Charlie's looking at me like, goodness me, what a head scratcher. I think
I'm literally like looking at the team. It's like we should know our best team by now.
I agree. I totally agree.
And it's Gino's fault for the manager situation, and you know what I mean? We don't know who we're recruiting for, what players, and you tell like a player like Elaine is definitely a Pesolano player, but it's frustrating, and that's why Javi's got such a hard job. I mean, the one thing that we can be positive about is the strength in depth when we're picking a team, and we've got players like Irakunda who we were waxing lyrical about, Kurumgard, like even Wiley, how impressed we were with him last season. Hasn't been able to get into the team. Kurumgard isn't in this 11, and then we got Chat coming back. But I don't know. I think we're going to Javi to get the best out of Watford. I think we're going to be looking at that 4-4-2 or 4-2-2. And I think the biggest casualty out of that, I hate to say it, or the one who won't start will be Quadro Bar. And then the other argument is it a good thing, him coming off the bench all the time? For me, it isn't. I want to see him starting because I think he's got probably the most potential out of anyone here. But look, we have to get the best out of the team, not a player at this point. So it'd be interesting what everyone else is saying in the comments about the best team or how we saw it.
Yeah, bang on. I think Charlotte makes a really good point here, just to wrap up. This is the problem. There's no consensus on our best side. We said it under Pezzolano. I think Javi's working out at the minute. Hacker says build around Cipriani. The rest should be common sense, in my opinion. HJ says you give 20 people to pick the ideal 11, you would have about 16 different lineups, formation, teams. I think we're all sat here. I think us 3 lads are quite, we have very similar views on Watford. And I think even us are sort of going through this going, I think I'd have this player, I'd have this player, I'd have this formation. And it's a real, it is, as I said, about 3-4 times, such a head scratcher. It really, really is. Ian makes a good point. I think Elaine has to get game time to stop Man City thinking of recalling him. Ben says it shouldn't be this hard. It should be the tagline for the season so far. And I think that's probably the best way to end it.
That'll be a good title for a future video.
Yeah, yeah, it should be. Look, a lot to get into, a lot to break down. I hope we've done it as best as possible. Thanks so much for watching, guys, on this Tuesday night. I hope you did enjoy it. Sam, Charlie, any final thoughts?
Well, it's the first time 3 years down the line we'll be welcoming back Mr. Rob Edwards to Vicarage Road.
Predictions?
We should have a look at the prediction league, actually. See who's towards the top. I'll share my screen now. Should be able to see it in a second.
How much of a lead shall I give you guys before I start taking it seriously?
Charlie predicting 3-3 every week, I must admit, is having an impact here. But as we can see, currently comfortably at the top with 13 points. Jacob in second with 9, and Charlie third with 7. Although Charlie
I'm going to start taking it seriously now.
All right, we will go with our predictions.
Come on, don't pretend like you won't take it seriously before.
Just look at all my predictions. What do you reckon?
You've predicted 3-3, 3 games in a row, and about 7 times this season.
I'm going to go Borough. I reckon we'll get a point. 1-1.
Charles?
2-1 Watford.
Ooh.
Wow.
Sam, generational run from you, by the way.
No, I'm doing well.
Humble.
God.
This is a good one, actually. Charlotte, I wonder what kind of reaction Rob Edwards is going to get at the Vic.
Not a good one, I don't think. Charlie, I'm gonna have to. I think we'll score 3-1 Watford.
Ooh.
When was the last time Watford drew 3-3? I reckon.
Coventry last season.
Was it Coventry?
Or a couple of seasons ago.
It was. Was that under Ishmael?
That was when
Ravich
burst on the scene.
There is the 3-3 that really sticks out in my head. I don't know why. I must have been about 10 years old. We drew 3-3 at home to Blackburn on a Tuesday night. And I just remember Rudy Justad scoring a header in the last minute for them to equalise. Don't know why I remember that, but here we go.
Do you know what I do remember? Wesley Hoop passing it back into his own net. Do you remember? And that was to make it 2-2 that game. Goodness gracious me.
How do you two both think? Jacob, you're not there, are you? But Charlie, you'll be there with me in the Rookery.
I will be there at Bristol City.
Nice one. What reaction would you two? Not what would you two give? We'll probably best leave that out of the stream. But what reaction do you think Rob Edwards will get on Saturday?
Well, I messaged you guys when I was watching a Borough game, and I was like, I just don't know how to feel about him. I think I do like him. I think he was harshly treated. Do you know what I mean? I think you guys met him, done the interview on this channel. Check it out if you haven't already. I'm sure it's still evergreen.
I have to say, just on that, right? A fun story for that one. Rob Edwards is a really, really top bloke, and I think a lot of people will say that when they meet him. And I think when you take sort of your Watford hat off and you think about him as a person, great guy. On that day, I remember we went in and we were given the opportunity to do the interview with him, and Sam, I just thought that, as Troy Deeney would say, the cojones. There was a lot of people watching the interview, and Sam went to Rob Edwards. So, what's your thoughts on Gino Pozzo sacking loads of managers? And and do you feel you'll be the next one? Basically, on those lines. And I remember thinking, Sam, you're incredible. Absolutely
probably the least evergreen content ever. But like you say, Jacob, he is genuinely one of the nicest blokes, not just in football, but genuinely I've ever met. And it really pains me to say it. But at the end of the day, he is an ex-Luton manager. So he will get an ex-Luton manager's reception on Saturday.
Yeah.
Firing shots from Sam.
It'd be interesting. Like, there is a song about him and his dog as well. So, like, I don't know. I like Rob Edwards, and he always gave us that meme. Watford, it's a massive football club.
It's a huge football club. It is indeed. Even with everything going on. Thanks so much to Sam and Charlie for watching today. Thanks so much to all of you who joined us. Really, really do appreciate it. It was a bit of a bump one, lads. How's your Sunday looking? Might as well book it now. What's the vibe?
Depends if we win.
I'm available. I'm straight up. I'm straight back. Yeah, I'm available for a Sunday stream.
Beautiful. Okay, we'll stay in touch. Turn on your post notifications, subscribe to the channel, comment down below your thoughts as always. Thanks so much for watching. Leave a like on the video, and we will see you in the next one. Take care, and up the audits. You want.